Morning, it's Mike Montgomery here in the study, March 9th of 2017. And just having some thoughts here about the Apostle Paul who went through a storm in Acts 27. We preached out of that last Sunday morning. And we think of God's men in storms. We think first off, the first one that comes to my mind is Jonah. Jonah was in a storm and God was leading him through the storm. Jonah was in rebellion against God when he went into the storm. And yet God used the storm to bring him to Nineveh where he wanted him to be. God used the storm to get Jonah's attention, and yet Paul was completely in the will of God, and the storm still comes to him. And it's a storm of no less magnitude. The storm comes on Paul, and it lasts for several days, and even the sailors were fearing for their life. And yet God used the storm to bring him to Malta, a little island there where the gospel is obviously preached and men are healed. And God uses that storm to kind of redirect Paul's steps. And of course, Paul calls all the men together in the midst of it, and he said, "Men, don't be afraid. God spoke to me, and we're going to make it through this storm." And I love the phrase he uses. He said, "Men, I believe God. I believe God." And I think ultimately, regardless of what the storm is in your life, whether it's a storm of correction or it's a storm of guidance, God is using those storms to order your paths. And God hasn't forgot you in the storm. He knows exactly where you are. He knew where you are when he sent you in the storm. And the fact is, our Lord, he went through storms when he was here. And so he went through the storms that were teaching times for the disciples and guiding their paths where he wanted them to be. And never is there a time that God is not in control of the storm. He stood on the bow of the ship, and Jesus Christ stood there on the bow of the ship and spoke to the waves, and they were still. And I got news for you. If he's the one that can calm the storm, he's also the one that sends the storm. And that storm that comes into our life that blows us seemingly off course and takes us in a path that we would have never anticipated, God is actually using that storm to guide our steps. And whether it is our will pushing against God or it is us trying to seek God's will, and we think, "Man, Lord, I'm trying to go where you want me to go. I'm trying to do what you want me to do," and now you send a storm. Just trust God in the midst of the storm. Just follow Paul's example here where he said, "Men, I believe God. I believe God has a purpose for the storm. He has a purpose and a plan for what's going on right now. We can trust him in the midst of it." The creator of the rain has purpose for the pain. And we can trust that God knows what he's doing. And so I hope it'll be encouragement to you this morning. Whatever storm you might be facing, God has been the author of that storm, and he can use that storm for his glory if we'll simply believe him in the midst of it and let him guide our steps through it. All right, God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow morning in the study. Hope it'll be an encouragement to you today. Thanks.